it's Michelle Lightworker here, and welcome to Enlightened Conversations. Today I have the wonderful Tammie Pike, who is watching. Hey Tammie, I'm going to invite you in, joining me. Hey, sweetheart. Can you hear me?
I sure can. It's just
Okay.
very quiet.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So I got a new headset, and I wanted to see how I sounded before I put the headset in and then after.
Awesome.
Okay, this is the new headset. Let me just put that in there, if I can. Put it in there. Probably can't. Isn't that funny? Maybe I had to put it in the other way around or something.
Okay.
I can start it. I don't know if I can start it now. It's sad that it's too quiet. Hang on, let me try this one. Now, does that make a difference?
That's awesome. So good.
Yay! Fantastic. Cool bananas. Yeah, I got this headset the other day, and I'm, as you're playing with things, to see how they work with different devices, and I just got it. So, welcome anyway, Tammie.
Thank you so much, Michelle. I'm so excited to be here again. Yeah, it's been a little while.
It has indeed. And for those of you who don't know Tammie's actually one of our Enlightened Conversations hosts, and she's a beautiful being who has just so much love and light to share in the world. I'll just introduce you formally to Tammie. Tammie is, just bear with me for a second while I load this up because it's a bit delayed. I had everything printed out, but for some reason I didn't print this bit. I think it
wasn't meant to be this morning.
So Tammie is a Qoya teacher, Enlightened Conversation host, holistic wellness coach, per 2000 therapist, a workshop and online course facilitator, Reiki practitioner, Heartworks Lomi massage therapist, and Soulful products creator. And she's also studied some of the Lightworker practitioner training, which I'm very excited about. And you've created all your services based on what helped you heal, and you've created this beautiful company, Earth Radiance, which helps people to feel nurtured and loved with gorgeous products as well.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey, and as you know, we've discussed, as we go along, the things that propel us into what it is that we want to do, like something inspires us, or we we heal from something we want to share. So that's how everything's sort of come about. And it's even my husband, though, like the whole thing, the journey has been so zigzag, and all over the place, but it's all coming together so beautifully now. And I just immersed on the weekend with my coach, my business coach, and it was so amazing to see, where I've come from in my own growth, but also what I'm now providing and how it encompasses everything that I've learned, including my Lightworker training, including my, coaching and my products. And it's all just coming together so beautifully when we allow things to flow. And now my passion is for every woman in the world to experience how strong her love is, because love is truly what's going to help us heal and help us heal ourselves, but then we help heal others by doing that, by filling up our cup. And it's just been such an amazing journey. And as we we grow all together and as a collective, but being able to bring such a service, I feel so blessed in being able to facilitate what I facilitate. So
and it's really all dimensions of that what you bring, isn't it? It's how can we love ourselves, how can we connect to that real authentic truth of who we are, and what ways can we help to do that. And I just think, wow, what a beautiful offering, not only to the world but also to yourself, that's what you're choosing to do. Like, I think that's a gift for you to give to yourself as well.
Definitely, and that's where we thank you. Hey, Susie.
Susie.
I definitely believe so. Like, honestly, we are our own medicine, and we create what we need for ourselves. As you know, with your Lightworker practitioner training and your 12 steps, you created that for yourself first. And I find every time I run my courses, I gain so much for it, because it's actually, I made it for me, and I'm aligning and, attracting women who also are aligned with what I'm going through and what they're needing. And they, they bring in their wisdom as well. So it's not just me. We have this collective, sharing and growing. And what's so exciting, and it really has been since I've started this journey, is seeing my children evolve with it, because with children, as we know, like they see what we do, but it's how we talk to ourselves. It's what we actually do when we think they're not looking, that's where they take, our actions onto themselves, and they start treating themselves how we do. And so, yes, for me, it has been such a blessing in focusing on self-love, and I can't tell you how happy I am inside of myself to be living my truth and no longer afraid of judgment of others or the approval of someone else, because I have that inside myself first and foremost. And then sharing that space with my children and watching them grow, it's just been so amazing. And as you know, you too are such a, a beacon of self-love and sharing our passions and what we do without shame or guilt or anything like that. And it's exciting, and seeing it rippling out into the world. Even I started doing little circles with my nieces and coaching them with self-love, and it was
how cute.
I just it just keeps evolving. As soon as you say to the universe, I'm opening myself to be able to be of service more, these situations come up. And my two little nieces, they're 10 and 11. And I can't tell you, like, one of them's had issues, at school, and she's being homeschooled now, which is amazing. But what happened was she gets really affected when someone hurts her feelings. And she even said that, that it's to a point where she doesn't want to be on this earth because it hurts her heart so much. And for a little girl to say that was, pretty traumatized. Like, it was so sad. And anyway, we're talking about self-love and what it means, and how we can be our own best friend, and we can be the ones who support ourselves, and what is it that you need to support yourself through this. And she got so excited that she was shaking. She goes, I'm just so excited to be knowing this. I'm so thankful that we're doing this. And we did oracle cards and we did readings, but, showing them a different way. And her mum's already super evolved and, a beautiful woman. But because my passion too is to bring self-love, that's where I delve into. I was able to hold space for these two beautiful girls to start seeing they can be their own remedy, they can be their own medicine, and that empowered them. And they were just so excited, and I'm just going, oh my God, we just did this. It was just phenomenal and just blew my mind. So, knowing that I can take the next step with, facilitating for younger women as well, because they are our future. And if we can get to them before, they're such at an age where they're blossoming and they're so influenced about what's around them, that if we can show them that they can be their true selves, they can be their own leader, and finding what they need, then they don't have to worry about approval or judgments, and they stay true to who they are, rather than going off, down a spiraling way where societal, you need to be like this.
Exactly.
And showing that true beauty comes within and from within. And this is what's exciting, is if we can teach our young women, and even men, of course, it's not based on what sex you are, but I find that at the moment it's the feminine rising. So I'm supporting that at the moment, and holding space for those who are wishing to grow in that way. So
and I think that if we could teach by role modeling purpose and what we're here to do in service, that's beautiful, and that's the epitome of self-love as well. Not doing things because we think everybody else is broken, but doing things because we think that we're all whole, and how can we bring attention to that. And if we've got that impulse, and that's actually what's motivating us to, if that's what the impulse is behind our role modeling, to whether it be our children or the children around us, or our nieces and nephews, or what have you, just even perhaps the children that come across our work on social media. If we're actually got the energetic vibration that matches the intention that we're all love, we're coming from that place, we're all whole, we're coming from that place, we're dusting off the third eye lens so that you can see that too, and that you walking your purpose is more attractive than trying to please everyone else. and that people are more attracted to that than you trying to please everyone else, I think that then that's when we start to really make an impact on a deeper level for deep change in the beings that are around us. Because the reality is that there, you know, for those of you listening who have children who you want to please as a parent, that's really unattractive to kids, because what they see is they see a disempowered person. But if you come from the place, because they read your energy and they don't even know they're reading your energy, but if you come from a place of no, I love me enough to walk my path, and part of that path means taking care of me, and part of that path means I need to be the best me to be the best parent for you, and really holding firm with that, then the kids actually respected the time that they have with you, and they honour it, and they feel that they matter and that they're valuable because you're giving them your best, and they really believe you, and that really translates energetically. It's not just like words, it's actually a feeling and a vibrational frequency. And we can spend a lot of time, especially for some of us who are in this industry of self-growth and self-promotion of, you know, your abilities and things like that, and wholeness. But we can spend time thinking that our children need to be doing that too, and they need to understand the work we're doing in order for them to be okay, when in actual fact they may be choosing a completely different path to grow their soul where they need to grow it. And so it gives us that mutual self-respect, that we're respecting ourselves whether or not they understand us, and when we're respecting them whether or not we understand their path and the one that they've contracted and they've chosen to walk. And so then there's this real, like, there's no power kind of play there with our children, and we're looking out for their best interest in how they need to be loved, and we're not thinking it has to be the same way that we're doing it for ourselves. So I think it's a really deep subject, isn't it, this self-love thing, especially when it comes to parenting.
Yeah, it's our essence of life, you know what I mean? We need to be of service to self before we can be service to anyone else. And I think the biggest key too is knowing that we aren't responsible for everyone else's happiness. We aren't. And as we go on this journey, we'll see that, you know, people come in and out of our lives, and that's okay. And people will react when we start practicing self-love if we haven't, because we'll start saying yes to things we didn't usually, and we'll start saying no to things that don't feel good for us, and creates a reaction. But we have to stand true in who we are and know that you are worthy of and deserving of following your joy, giving love to yourself, if that means giving yourself time. And, you know, for children as mums, we really need to understand we don't need to create their happiness. That's, you know, if we need to give them the skills to teach them how they can give what they need for themselves. Yes, we need to keep them healthy and safe and all that, but we are part of their journey, like you said, but we aren't the ones to be able to be responsible for their happiness. And when I truly started understanding that was massive. The huge amount of pressure that came off was ridiculous, because, you know, we get into that hover state where, oh, they're sad, now we have to make them happy, or we have to do this consistently. But what we're teaching, we're not giving them the space to be them or true to them. So what we do now, if mums are wanting to find out how do we start this, is we started Soul Hour. And it is really cool. I was my spiritual coach Teresa Voigt and I was like, I need to implement something, and we're talking about it. She's like, Soul Hour, it's amazing, and we've been implementing that. And what we do there, it's because my children are 4, 7, and 9. They have activities that they choose to do for an hour that they can be like, I'm in the house with them, but they're not with me being fully onto them. And so what they get to do is choose something that feels really good for them. And so, you know, Tom, you know, he loves his PS3. So he has, you know, a game on his PS3, because I usually am very like, you can't play that. And then, but that's his choice. It feels good for him. And then Sophie, she will, you know, she'll draw, and so will Brookie, but then Brookie will go and play with her dolls and things like that. But they know that's mummy's time. They know that that's their time. And within that hour, we get to just be ourselves and do what it is we need for ourselves. And that's giving them that. And when we don't have it, whether we, have things on, Tom will go, I just want soul hour, mum. So, this role modeling creates that for them too. And so mothers get this space. It is. It's just like what you get from it is so much more than an hour of space. Like you're teaching your children, and you're starting to learn how, as a mum, especially if you're surrounded by guilt and shame, how to actually take that time and feel good for all of you. And then, that feeling starts feeling so good that you start seeking that out more and more in a way that works for your whole family. So, it's pretty exciting to start implementing it. Yeah.
I love that. I love Soul Hour. I feel like that's such a beautiful, I'm just saying hello to everybody who's watching. Hey, Susie. Hey, Jag. Hey, Francis. Hey, Angel. It's not coming up on my feed, but it's coming up on my computer, which I'm looking at over here. That's what I'm looking at. If you ever see me doing this, just making sure I'm onto it. I just wanted to say that I really feel that when we're actually not only giving it to ourselves, but we're saying this is a beautiful gift for us all to practice. Wow. Honestly, I just see that's like a little kind of droplet every day of a microcosm of what could be 24/7 their whole life. So you kind of, but we crave soul hour. Okay, let's make it soul 2 hour,
Exactly.
It's like, it's really lovely, to be in that place of giving to ourselves and getting into that habit. The other thing that I feel is really important is how we respond in highly stressful situations. It was funny. I mean, I'm so unstressed that I just basically laughed straight away. But I mean, it could have been horrendous. But I was at a lunch the other week, last month, and it was for International Greek Day, and I was at the piano bar in Maroochydore, and they were serving drinks and everything. And I was sitting at the table with, my family, and I was wearing a dress, and the waiter spilt 2 drinks over me, and it went all down one side of me, like my whole dress. It was actually red wine, and it was like the dress I was wearing was black and cream, so you'd expect for the cream part to show up the red wine. And it showed up nothing. I couldn't believe it. I was just dabbing it, laughed and said, oh, no worries. And he was so embarrassed, the poor guy. It was just like, I've never done this in the 10 years I've been a waiter. And I just sort of looked at it like I saw it from this higher perspective. I thought, gosh, you could have got someone really nasty, but you got me. I didn't say all this to him, but I was processing it. My daughter was obviously there witnessing this whole thing and me laughing and saying, it's fine. And she's also been in the hospitality industry, so that would have had an impact on her as to how people can respond to these situations. I've been in the hospitality industry myself when I was younger and smashed a lot of things, so I had a lot of compassion for the person. But I guess just from that place of humour and grace and forgiveness and, I don't know, it just felt like my vibrational frequency wasn't altered by that experience. It just heightened. It just was happy, and it reflected on my dress. I mean, I could have had that's what I mean. Like, how did that happen? How did I transcend the colour of, it's almost like wine to water. I took photos because I was like, I can't believe this. And I took photos afterwards. I just think how our children see us role model our responses in what could be a highly stressful situation. It's also another really big thing, because when we have these values that we live our life by, when everything's flowing really well, it's all fine and dandy. But then when we're under stress, if we can't apply those values, they still see that. They still see that we're not. So then that's perhaps what they then take on, and then that's what they mirror back to us to help us to grow and to change it the way we're dealing with it. So we're always learning, where can I work on that better?
Yeah, definitely. And we just had this come up in my course the other night, and I have to share because it's so relevant. in how we can, like, everything is our mirror, our environment, the
Yeah.
people in it, and our children are our biggest
Yeah.
mirror. And we were talking about it because Sophie, my middle child, is a splitting image of me, and pretty much who I was as a child. And I try not to say that because she's her own person, but the similarities are pretty full on. And even my parents just say she's just a pure reflection of you. And sometimes that's really triggering for me. And because, as a parent and seeing who you were as a child grow up and all that kind of stuff that comes with it. But it's been amazing too, because I've started, like, I'm a Qoya teacher, and so I do Qoya, but I had not been doing it for probably 3 weeks because I started getting in the masculine and very linear again and very controlling, and which I fluctuate through. And anyway, I came up super early to come and do Qoya because I'm like, I know this is something I really need to, bring back into my days, because it allows me to actually feel those emotions that I've been trying to control for whatever reason. And anyway, Sophie came up, and Sophie usually doesn't come up, that early. And anyway, she was up here, and I invited her to come and dance with me. And usually she's quite free in her dancing, but what's been happening is she's been reflecting me and started controlling again and getting in that really controlled mindset for the last week. And I thank the moon cycles too, because we bring up everything we want into our awareness by using those cycles. And she wouldn't allow herself to move freely in the with the music because she was trying to control. And it was so good because what I was saying to her, I was receiving back as well. And by the end of it, like, we were just so into the music and expressing our feelings, and she felt so good, I felt so good, but I was actually able to role model and help her through something while she was helping me. And it was just such a beautiful process. And I think we can really learn so much from our children if we bring awareness. What are they mirroring back to me right now? So if my child's yelling, what's he mirroring back to me? Oh, I've been yelling a bit lately because I'm stressed and I'm not actually dealing with what's going underneath. So it's that constant, if we give that time to self to delve within and experience our feelings, ask ourselves what is it that we need right now, and actually go do it, then that's what we show our kids. And I have to share one more tip that Elaine Million shared so beautifully when I was learning her horse course with her, horse assisted learning, is she's like, always step back and breathe, like that one thing, that
simple,
one
right?
tip, so simple, but putting it into action, and making it your number one reaction or step before you actually speak can be quite difficult, especially when we're used to going rah, or we're in a reactive state because we're full of anxiety, depression, anger, frustrations, all that kind of stuff. But if you give yourself this time every day, you'll give yourself space to implement new changes and habits, and you'll bring your awareness to the situations that you are reactive to, focusing on your feelings and being able to move through it in such a more beautiful, harmonized way, which then reflects back in our children.
Yeah. And I think, like, just a heads up, Tammie Kirkness is watching. I've noticed. Hi, Tammie. And Tammie's actually our newest host who has her first Enlightened Conversation tomorrow. And as you were talking, I was feeling like you were speaking to Tammie. It was like Tammie speaking to Tammie. So, you just, I was like, oh my God, this is so relevant for Tammie. And she's hearing it from Tammie, and it's almost like you're saying everything's a mirror. And then I'm like, oh, wow, this is fabulous. Sometimes we just, we want to get into that sort of space of, especially when we're organisers and efficient and type A personalities, and we want to get into that space of overdoing it or overproducing or over whatever it is. And sometimes we just got to hang back, and the energy that we're emitting takes care of and flows into everything, including our guest.
So
and
definitely.
them us. Yeah. It's like this mutual kind of flow then. And I think that's very powerful. Hey, I want to run something by you to a completely different topic, but it's just jumped out at me.
Yeah.
As I was doing some things this morning, my husband walks in, and he's carrying his surfboard under his arm that had disappeared about a month ago.
Oh, you found it.
yeah. And I'm like, this is really interesting. Like, what's this about? Like, okay. Well, we had totally let go of it. Let's just say we were, our opinion was whoever took the surfboard must have needed it more than us. They must have really needed our energy. And that's why they took the surfboard. Because, Tony loves that surfboard. It's got, so much energy and love and high vibes put into it. It's ridiculous. It's just like full on. And so we're thinking, well, this is a big gift for somebody, and our plan was, well, we'll just, save up and buy another surfboard or feel into it, sit in with it, see what we want to do, Anyway, so he walks in a month later with the surfboard this morning. And I'm feeling like maybe the message in that is in our non-attachment and in our generosity and in our perceiving the stolen surfboard in a different way, in a more enlightened way, it was only ever removed from our view for that short time. And that person who really needed those high vibes wasn't resonating with the surfboard. So it's found its way back to us, because where it was found was actually in our building. It was actually hidden. I know, it was actually hidden in a room that was off to the side before you could get out. And there's a camera where the person who'd taken the helmets, you could see the person with the hoodie, and they had the two helmets on, like in their jacket, but you could tell that on the camera that they'd taken the two helmets out. They'd obviously come back for the surfboard, but must have seen the camera and then hidden it. But on an energetic level, I feel like it was like, I can't handle this board. I can't handle these high vibes. And it was like, it was almost like energetically the board was not ready for them. They weren't ready for the board. And so they hid it, and we've only just found it. Perhaps they were coming back at another time to get it, but it never happened for whatever reason. I mean, a month is a long time, a long time to have a plan that didn't get executed. So I'm thinking, wow, what do you think about all that, Tammie? I'm just so looking forward to hearing your thoughts on that.
Oh, you just bring it up so beautifully in that letting go of an attachment. So whether it's a board, a feeling, a situation, a friendship, anything like that is no longer serving you or needing to bring a lesson to you, isn't it like that whole thing? If you've totally found the more loving way to, look at the situation, but you've totally let go of an outcome. You've just let it be part of your journey. You've allowed yourself to gain from it, and then actually, let it be a positive in your life rather than a negative. And again, letting go of the attachment, I think like this can be reflected in all areas of our life, our business. When it's not about the destination, it's not about the outcome, it's how we are journeying through each stage. And for reflection for you, like, how beautiful is that? Like, you've allowed it to be what it needs to be. You put beautiful thoughts out there. Well, that's, for them to experience your love and your vibe rather than going, someone stole this, I'm so angry, or you could have been in that way. And imagine what the reflection would be in your life then if you stayed in that mindset. But instead, you've totally stepped back and seen it in such a loving, light, reflected, enlightened way. It's just so beautiful, because also I know you've been sharing this journey with you, and I remember seeing that post when you said that, and people getting angry, and you're like, no, well, they must have needed it more than us, and it's, it's okay, it's all part of it. And showing them it's not about whether we've let go of this, or had something taken from us, but what have we actually been given in return. And look what happened. The outcome was even more amazing than what you could actually have, thought of or envisioned.
Yeah. And also, I think, like, if they hadn't taken the board or hidden the board from view, so funny that, and done all that, and we hadn't gone all through that and experienced those experiences, and we wouldn't have been able to share that attitude with everybody, and for them to see how we really live from that place. And so that in essence, that person who came and did that was doing us a favour, Like they actually gave us something, and they gave you something, and they gave the other person, and everybody who's watching, they gave them something. And so even from that experience of feeling that things are stolen, they're always trying to give us something. They're giving us an opportunity to step up the way we can see things differently, to elevate our perspective. And then it comes back to us. And it's like, here it is. I'm looking at it right now. It's just over there in the hallway, you know. And I'm thinking, oh my God, it's back. Like it's like a friend. Like, hi, you're over there, and I'm looking at you, and you're smiling at me, and it's almost like this sort of cheeky, like little. I was just, you know, hidden for a little while, guys, and I'm back. You know, it's so cute when you've got not an attachment to your possessions, but a relationship with them that you can not be possessive of, but you can also be grateful for. We're really grateful for that board.
And you even realize even more how much you loved it and how much it was part of your life, you know, or what it meant to you in the whole scheme of things. But I also would like to share, following on from that, how we reflect and how we act in a situation and how it can have like a huge flow and effect. So is that okay, or did you want to keep working on that?
Please do.
So,
no, please.
So 2 weeks ago, I had two beautiful mums out. We're having a play date, and my son Tom was swinging on a swing. Anyway, he fell off and went Superman style and broke his arm, or fractured his arm.
Ow.
Yeah, it was, and he was so distraught. And for the first time in my life as a mum, I was not caught up in what's actually happening, and was able to be there, because I think, you know, well, I know from being full in my cup and filling myself up, you know, being really good with my self-love and spiritual practices, I just felt really balanced. And, you know, I could feel that, it was really amazing. He was so distraught, screaming because it was hurting. And he's like, I wish this didn't happen. And he was just so sad and, you know, really distraught. And, you know, I was able to hold space for him. The other mums were amazing and were able to calmly get him up and call the ambulance and all that kind of thing. And but what I was telling him, once everyone had sort of gone out to try and you know, wave down the ambulance, because we live out of town, was that I was able to explain to him that this is something that we are going to gain from. Like, this is really an experience that we don't know what just right now, but knowing that it is exactly going to be what we need it to be. And honestly, like, in no joke, and this feels really uncomfortable sharing, but a couple of weeks beforehand leading up to this, there's some really you know, some words coming through with regards to his health. And he kept saying it, you know, he kept saying, oh, cancer's coming out of my hand, and he's had some issues with his lymph nodes and all that kind of thing. And, you know, I was a bit reactive to that, and I'm just like, well, this is going to be something. And it kept coming to me that I'm going to be able to, it's not about the arm, it's about his health. And what happened was, I've been using an energy healer, a vibrational energy healer actually, and I called her straight away. I told her what happened, and she got straight on to working with him. And what came up from her delving into that was lymphatic, like you know, tumor, and all these kind of things coming up, which I knew, and she picked everything up. So this was a gift, you know, it was such a gift. And if I had been caught in the moment, oh, it's just a broken up, it's just a, let's focus on how he's feeling right now, blah, blah, you know, all this kind of thing, I wouldn't have been aware to what else was going on and taking the steps that I needed to take to support him on his health journey and healing journey. And I'm so grateful that that happened, because it put an awareness around what was really needed to be focused on. So letting go of the attachment of the outcome of what actually happened with him, and letting it be the lesson that we needed, or the awakening, or the awareness bringing. And I have to tell you, he's now, like, he was on painkillers for 1.5 nights, and then that was it. He doesn't even feel like he has a broken arm. We went and got an x-ray again, and it's you know, a good old fracture, but he has no pain. And that's because, you know, we went down the healing path with what we did, but now also he's healing on his whole overall body. And it's these, like, lessons we get to learn, and these awakenings, and like, why I feel that it resonates with what happened with you is because we step back. We don't get caught in what is actually happening. We let things unfold, and for it to be exactly what we need to bring whatever it is that we need to us in whatever situation.
you'd recognized, like, precursor to all that happening, you recognized your reactiveness and your stuff around what was coming out of him, and you're able to take a step into to say something else is going on, and you're sort of like open to what that is. And then when something like that presents itself, you've already done the work almost to be in a space of non-reactiveness and complete, I don't know, just a completely different transitional space that's supportive rather than, you know, what could happen, which is like full-on shock and trauma as a mum. So wow, on that one, high five on the high vibes, Tammie, on that. That's incredible. You know, the thing that I'm feeling about him too is that when he said that he had cancer coming out of his hands, it feels to me like what he's really saying is, Mum, I'm a medical intuitive. I can see energy, and I need to own my body. And the broken arm feels like it's really him crashing into his body and saying, I'm here. And I'm going to acknowledge my gifts. It's what it feels like to me as you're talking. I don't know if you resonate with that, but that's what I'm getting as you're talking.
Well, he knew, and once really, you know, if we hold space for ourselves to, you know, grow our intuition, actually listen, because I was shutting down those thoughts that were coming up previous, right? Because it's scary, that can't be right, you know, that kind of thing. But also too, what happened was that morning, no kid you not, he said to me, Mum, do you know what happens when you ring 000, Mum? And I'm like, oh, what's that, buddy? He goes, well, you get put through to an operator, and then you have to, so they ask you, do you need to talk to fire, police or ambulance? I'm like, oh, that's really great. And we had a chat about that. And I was talking to the ambulance guy about this. He's like, well, how did he know that? And I'm like, actually, I'm not too sure. And I said to Tom, how did you know that? And he goes, I don't know, I just knew it. I just knew that what it was. But, you know, these synchronicities and these intuitive things, we need to grow these in ourselves, but also hold space for it in our kids and then bring it to their awareness too. So like what you just said, I'm going to go and talk to Tom about this and bring it into his awareness, because it's reinforcing that believing in themselves, believing in what they're thinking and feeling and picking up, because the best thing we can do as a parent is to actually reinforce their self-confidence in who they are and what they believe and what they're thinking. So thank you so much for sharing that too, because I'm really excited to talk to them about that.
It's very validating for their reality. And the fact that what you've done is you've taken him to a alternative medical practitioner, if you like, who's actually exposing him on a deeper level to what we're talking about. And I feel like that's actually imprinting on him where he can actually gravitate towards in the future. So this experience is also a gift to himself to carve his path where he wants to go and what he wants to focus on. So it's, you know, she's an intrinsic part of that story. So the way you've handled it, of course, you go to a doctor, you know, the hospital, you get the cast, you know, you put all that, you get the 3D world together, but then you don't ignore what's going on behind everything. And, you know, you also bring attention to that. Him wanting, for me, cancer's always around, like the body not recognizing itself on a cellular level. And so therefore it's energetically, it probably happens before the actual cells change. And so it feels like for me, his acknowledgement of I need to own more of who I am is what's calling him. That's what he's really seeing energetically, and it's called cancer. But he's what it is really that he wants to not develop that on a physical level. Yeah, which is fantastic.
Yes, it's very exciting because, and then like the fear that came up, like there's this like, you know, all this thing happens like slap bang, but it's so fine, you know, like, and you sort of don't have that reaction because it's like it's fine, like it's everything's okay, so I don't need to get caught up. And it's like Michelle Sheik, who's a Qoya teacher, she uses the shaking, And, you know, we can get caught up in the situation and what's happened and stay in that state, in that energy, or we can shake it off, like let it totally and completely go, whether you put some music on and just shake your whole body and let Mother Earth take back all that and transmute that energy, or and then continue to live our life rather than being based in fear or in what happened, what could have happened, what ifs, anxiety, all that kind of stuff, because mums are so good at being like what ifs. We get stuck in the what ifs. But if we shake it off and we completely just, you know, be that it's all okay, everything's fine, and now I can keep living. I don't need to stay stuck here. I can keep moving forward. So,
Yeah, it's beautiful. I love that. Yep. And sometimes that's all you have to do is a bit of a Shania Twain. Shake it off. Is it Shania Twain? No. Whoever it is that sings Shake It Off. Taylor Swift.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. That is so good. And
I love that
and
song.
Let It Go by Michael Frenati, I think his name is, like Let It Go. Like the women just love Let It Go because it's sort of upbeat, but you're letting go of crap while you're doing it and you're feeling amazing and you're getting a workout and you just feel like on top of the world because you just like totally released all this negative energy. It's just so good. So
I wanted to sort of mention that I have had some conversations with an intergalactic being in the last week who
I was hoping you'd bring this up.
Yeah, that told me that eventually we're not going to have bodies. So, I mean, a lot of us will evolve to the point where we're at a last incarnation where there's no body, like a no physical body and no physical universe. It's not actually heaven and it's not actually death. It's actually life. And so that's pretty profound. Not everybody has to not have a body in order to get to that point, though. So it's not like, what's the word? Mandatory, but some people are. And so what I was shown is that there's no body, but there's continual communication happening all the time and interacting with each other. So there's so for instance, someone doesn't have a body, but then they come across another spirit and they don't have a body, but then that spirit can say, that being human being in that spiritual form, they without the body, they can actually see every single past life that person's had. But they don't get a download. They don't get the download straight away. They just get bits and pieces during a conversation, which would be a telepathic conversation, given the fact that there's no mouth speaking. And so that's pretty profound to think that, because what we're doing, Tammie, is we're promoting conscious conversation, right?
Yes.
And it's really I know. But do you think that's the last incarnation? It's quite, like, for some people, that they have to be, I guess, not focused on the physical in order to really do the emotional processing and what he called resolving. So there's no death, but it's resolving. So once a person's resolved all their stuff, which could take a while, at that particular, what seemed like an endless eternity of time, without a sun, without a sleeping, and without, just seemed like a lot. I mean, it's kind of interesting, isn't it? Actually, I don't know the intrinsic details yet. I'm going to have to put that off to the side and say I don't know if they sleep. I have to ask him that question. But he did say that they do group work and they do actually help each other and resolve. So they get together, they have conversations. Anything that's keeping them stuck, the other person will say, hey, I'm seeing this about your past life, blah, 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 and they'll actually bring it up. So it kind of felt like a really powerful place, and it felt to me like conversation was really intrinsic to the development of people.
Isn't that amazing? Because it totally takes away what we get stuck on, like our looks and what we're wearing and, you know, those silly things, what we're eating. Not that silly, but you know what I mean, those kind of things. And to really just be on an energetical, spiritual form. Could you imagine the freeness of just feeling? Like, wouldn't that, like, could you imagine of letting go of everything and just feeling things of all sorts? Because like we said, nothing's right or wrong, and if we feel one emotion only, then we get really bored with that. So it's about, you know, evolving and growing and feeling all of that, and that would just give you so much spaciousness just to focus on, you know, resolving, as you said, and, you know, working through it all, but to then be at what state, like this enlightened state of, again, the collective awareness and consciousness.
Yeah, there's a lot of people there that, you know, that he said there's a lot of people there that will have a conversation with somebody and they'll totally be completely in joy for them. Doesn't matter what they haven't processed, because they know how close they are to resolving, and they can actually see that. So their sort of ability can see that point that they need to get to. And it may be that that person, because he did say the highest vibrational frequency in that particular universe was peace, but he said the lowest frequency was depression, because some people think, what's the point? And I'm losing all these people they're resolving, and I'm losing all these people and they're not coming back. And there's a shadow side to the universe where you'd think it was easy not to have a body, but it's actually quite difficult, because it's forcing you to face everything that you need to resolve. So it was, but for the people like him, it was a joyful experience, because he could see how close everybody was to resolving, and he knew that it didn't matter if they were in depression. He knew that they were that close, and they couldn't see it themselves. I thought that was phenomenal, especially for rewriting how we see depression even in this universe, and how we, I guess, judge it or assess it, judge people.
Yes. Oh, definitely. And because when someone, like, going through my own burnout from, anxiety and fear and all that kind of stuff with my youngest daughter, you can't see an ending, but then you get a breaking, and then the light comes through, and then you're like, there is a different way, and it always is that shift, or that, I don't want to say breaking, that you're breaking apart, but you're breaking open, and to break away the shutters or whatever it is, bring awareness, opening awareness, whatever it is. But then you go on to this then enlightened journey, and like we are doing, we get to share that and tell people they're not by themselves. And that's what's exciting about what we do, is when we do share our stories and we have these kind of conversations, is bringing awareness that there, you might be even in like super conscious spirit states, that they still are, processing and going through that, but always understanding that we might not think that this will ever end, but it will. This state, whether it's, super depression, that really shadow side, there's always going to be light coming through, and it's just your process and allowing that to resolve, as you said. That's really amazing.
I know. I'm still processing it, because I wrote like 12 pages on, the whole thing, and I just put it on my Facebook page this morning, because like he did say to me, I said to him, should this be a book? He said it might be, but just go share it. Don't worry about it having it, to have it in a book, and just share it. Like there are so many people, he said, like myself, who would feel very validated by the information that's coming through, because they might be on their last incarnation right now, and he said that if you share the information with them now, that's going to be very helpful for them and validate a lot for them, and that's what they need right now. There's not a lot of people that can give that to them, because there's not, they might be just so highly evolved that there's just not a lot of people that can, not that they need the validation, but it's lovely to receive the validation. It feels really good. I know I was very teary when he was talking to me. I felt very validated by a lot of the things that he said to me, and I can only imagine that it would validate so many people. So I posted it on Facebook. It's there for everybody to download if they want to read it. The whole conversations, the 2 conversations that I've had so far with Ralph. Ralph.
Awesome, Dave. Oh, got a better sense of humour.
Yeah, the intergalactic being, Ralph, conversations with Ralph.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you so much. Yes, sharing. That was, and it is, I think it's comforting in a way too, for, it's just like it's never ending, no matter what you're doing, even if the last incarnation of a physical form.
Carnation, like think a flower.
Oh yeah, beautiful.
We're in bloom. We're in bloom.
I know. I don't even know where that was coming from, but anyway, incantation. And then having this other journey, of this evolution and growth. And I think for me, like when you tell me about it, again, it even removes, like I feel I'm not really fearful about death at all. I think it's all part of the process.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like again, it's just that reinforcement that there are for those to go on to another journey. So
yeah. And he was telling me like that, you know, because we had all these questions, my husband and I were like a million questions, and he was saying, like my husband asked, I think we were having this conversation where he asked, if you're over in this universe, in where we are in Earth, and then you die, would you go to that universe for your last incarnation? And he said no, because not necessary. Although of course I'm traveling there to get information and bring you back here. He said that's unity consciousness in action. The whole universe is connected, and it is, you know, information is required to at this level to come back at your level. It's part of the whole thing. But he did say that the karmic ties that you have to your Earth, and the people that you would have spent many lifetimes with are the specific people that will trigger the specific things that are required to resolve. And that made a lot of sense to me, because I thought, oh, that makes a lot of sense, of course, you know. So you just say you've not resolved everything, you've made it to, you know, the final incarnation, and it has to be in that form. And they're the only ones that can really understand. It's almost like, you know, you're having a meeting with somebody and they're thinking about, you're able to pick up all the interactions that you've had with them. But, you know, just say you're the person who abused them every lifetime, and you're seeing all the effects of that abuse for the first time, and you're feeling all the effects of the abuse there for the first time, and you're only understanding what they went through for the first time. I mean, wow. And, you know, AKA there's like no prison required, right? Like, you know, someone's either getting it and they're changing because they're experiencing the reality. They're not just seeing it, they're feeling it. They're almost going through it, what they've created. They you know, they're feeling it on the deepest, on the vibration that they're at. They're feeling it. So if they've evolved past it, then they've evolved past it, and they're not, you know, there's no need to feel those lower vibrational frequencies, because they're in a place of compassion for themselves and that person that they've done it to. But yeah, I just think, wow, that's like phenomenal. Like to think that that's how we resolve.
Isn't that like, you know, the biggest wish for humanity is that we were able to do that, you know, instead of going through all these other processes, you know, like you said, prison and stuff. But wouldn't it, you know, for someone to actually be able to feel what they've, you know, their ripple, or what they've created in another person's life, to actually feel that, so that on like a huge level would actually shift their consciousness and awareness, so they would, you know, they wouldn't go on and do that again or whatever, you know what I mean, to actually feel and to feel what they've been part of. Or yeah, that's huge.
I think that one of the, like when I'm talking to you and hearing you say that, I feel like one of the biggest issues with the criminal world is disconnection. Like they don't feel the ripple of what they've done. It's in a narcissistic ball, that they're just in self-preservation and self-gain, and they don't understand what they're doing, and so they don't get it and they don't learn from it. So then therefore, because they're divorced from the principle of unity, they actually can't really learn and grow and rehabilitate properly. So in essence, it feels like unity consciousness is the ultimate rehabilitation for, you know, for really shifting, like for genuine rehabilitation. Like, you know, not punishment. Punishment doesn't work. Punishment just reinforces, you know, that you're not worthy and you deserve to, you're bad, and that's all it reinforces. It just reinforces disconnection. Because if you've got somebody, I watch these shows, and if you've got somebody punishing, and they're going, I'll never forgive that person, what they did, they raped my daughter, I'll never forgive them for murdering my daughter, I'll never, you know, and you hear it. I watch Forensic Files, and you hear people come to the end of it, and they're like, I'll never forgive them. You know, they'll never rehabilitate. You hear all these things, and then you imagine that they're at this final stage, this last incarnation, where that's who they're faced with. Just say they're faced with the person who murdered their daughter and they're still in unforgiveness and they're not able to resolve, and they're having to re-experience how the ripples of their behaviour in not being resolved have affected multiple people in their lives for perhaps multiple lifetimes or multiple, you know, can you imagine? They've got to face what their unforgiveness of that person has cost them.
It's huge on both sides. That's the thing, because like you never know what what you're not aware of, I guess. But that's the thing, is when we stay in these states of unforgiveness or anger or frustration towards others, usually like that victim state, we just stop ourselves from living. Like we just, like, especially going through your Lightworker practitioner training, it's so true in that, you know, if we focus on that, what are we actually losing for ourselves? So Emma Mogg has a question. If you have a feeling that someone has been here before, is that because you can feel them vibrate at a different frequency? Hey, Em.
Hey, Emma. I'm not sure I understand that question. If you have a feeling that someone has been here before, is that because you can feel them vibrate at a different frequency? No, I don't think so. I mean,
you know, like, you know, when we have kids or something, we know that they're old soul. Like, what is it that actually brings that awareness that we know that they're just, you know, they've been here before?
Oh, like a more evolved soul.
Or that they've just been here
before.
Oh, okay, yes.
Before.
Yeah.
That confuses me a little bit. But Emma, I agree. If it's a person who's coming in there like an old soul, you can definitely feel it, can't you? Can you, you know what I mean? You can sense it. You can sort of, I can feel it, because you feel more of a connection if you resonate at that level, right? And just say you're really evolved and you've sort of got some spidey senses going on, and you've spent some time on psychic development and things like that, and then you have a child and they kind of you feel naturally connected to them, you're probably going to find that even if it's not activated yet, they're probably resonating there. They've been through enough to get to a certain point that you're at this point, and that'll eventually pop open, even if it hasn't popped open when they're actually younger. That's my sense, because there's a lot of kids that are waiting to be activated at a certain period of time. They don't look psychic, or they don't act psychic. They don't do the woo-woo stuff at all. They're quite pragmatic kids, but then hit their 30s and bang. That was me, by the way. That was me. I wasn't.
Same. Well,
yeah,
just
I didn't.
that age.
It activated. I couldn't believe it when it activated. It was like, holy crap! Okay.
Different life, boom, like straight from 9 to 5, and this perfect picture life in society's view, to going, what the hell? What am I doing?
Yeah.
But then creating such a magical life once you start trusting and growing it. But I get it.
Thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to have to sign off to do a few announcements in a second. Did you have one thing that you wanted to say just then, honey?
No. I just no. That's fine. No, I just want to thank you for the space to converse and talk about all things beautiful like we do. Like, it's so varied and wide, and that's what I love it so much. So thank you.
You never know where it's going to go, which is part of the fun. And what would you like to share with people in terms of how they can contact you, or anything that's coming up for you as well?
Yeah, sure. So I'll just quickly grab something. So there's a few ways they can work with me. I have a free group, the Real Wild Women Collective, which will be changing very shortly, but still be a supportive group. I also am my next Nurture, Nourish and Connect course, which is a 6-week online self-love, self-development course, is running again in June. So I'm taking openings for that. But if it's for people who are just wanting to start cultivating self-love using really positive and high-vibing products that are organic and natural, I have a beautiful self-love kit that I've created from my own experience of, my own journey, but it's just got products that have affirmations and intentions on there. So women actually, these are tools. These are all tools.
I love that.
Having something that's beautiful and connects you to, I'm actually going to give conscious intention of love to myself by using these products, and it sort of grows and cultivates and raises their vibration. And it's all about focusing on the inner beauty rather than the outer beauty. So, I just, you can find me on Facebook at Earth Radiance and have a look at what I do, and go from there. But if you're meant to find me, you'll find me.
I love that. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think if people are meant to find us, they find us. If they're meant to watch the episode, which is pretty cool, talking about so many different amazing things. Wow. You know what I was just thinking? I was just thinking, gee, how cool would it be to kind of write a book of all the conversations I've had with people? Because there's been like over 100 conversations. And I was thinking, gee, that'd be a good book. Just writing a book on all the conversations and what we've talked about. Anyway,
Easy, get it transcribed. Get each
I
episode
know.
transcribed.
Somebody transcribe them. Who wants to put their hand up for me and transcribe it?
Awesome. That'd be amazing.
All right, beautiful.
Cool.
Well,
All right, thanks,
it's great to connect with you. I'm going to make a few announcements, so I'll catch you soon.
Bye.
Bye, darling.
Thank you so much,
Bye.
everyone. Thank you for.
And yeah, I'm just going to actually mention a couple of things coming up. I need my glasses to do this one though. Let's go. So tomorrow we have the beautiful Tammie Kirkness. Now Tammie is actually doing a live stream with Helly Weston, and she's currently in New Zealand, and she's actually going to be through her unique combination of deep mindset coaching, breathwork and channeling and energy medicine. Helly powerfully supports the truth seekers to find clarity from within, leading to more inspiration, meaning, love and positive impact in their lives. She's originally from New Zealand and she's now based in Bali and leads training for thousands of women and men around the world, both live and online. And that is tomorrow, and it's in Australian Eastern Standard Time of 7:30 p.m. on Friday, but from Zurich it's 11:30 a.m. It's very exciting. It's going to be live from Zurich. And then we also have next week, we've got Stephanie Nassis joining me. Oh no, sorry, not next week. Thursday the 3rd of May, so Thursday fortnight. And she's a holistic practitioner, mental health educator, meditation facilitator, and trauma-sensitive PTSD yoga instructor. And she's been a first responder for over 20 years, and we're going to chew the enlightened fat together. And then we've got also on Friday the 11th of May, coming up in May at 10 o'clock, we've got Raul Estevez and Cheryl Hart in an enlightened conversation. And Cheryl is actually an intuitive artist, and she's on the Gold Coast. And so I'm looking forward to seeing that episode, because I love seeing what people channel when it comes to their artwork. And then coming up later in May, on Tuesday the 8th of May, I've got Leanne Barefoot Medium, and we're going to also have a good little chat. And I also wanted to mention that we do have our newest host joining us very soon. Apart from the wonderful Tammie Kirkness, we've also had a new enlightened being join us, and her name's Sarah Shalizi, and I love her accent, and she's from Arizona in the US, and she's going to be joining us very soon on Enlightened Conversations as a brand new host. So lovely to connect with you all today, and blessings to you all. Remember, in unity consciousness, our divine enlightened conversations are always non-judgmental, unconditionally loving, and we're not afraid to talk about anything that comes through that Spirit wants us to talk about, because that is an enlightened view. Mwah. Lots of love to you all.